So welcome to the show, Lee. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Sally, thank you so much for taking the time to have me.
Great. And so we've been talking a little bit, but can you just give a little bit of background to our listeners about what you do and where you're from and kind of what's going on with your life and your business right now?
So I'm from the UK. I'm originally from Birmingham, but now living in a small town in Whitchurch called Shropshire called Whitchurch. See, always get muddled up. So I've got a number of businesses, and because I believe that multiple incomes are the way ahead and should have. The business that I'm going to be talking about is life and business growth coaching, which what I do is one of my businesses. As I said, I'm based in the UK, though I do have clients globally.
Okay, great. And with your businesses, as you've said, you have a few. Are they all incorporated in the UK, or how do you have things set up?
So they are all incorporated in the UK at the moment. One of the reasons that it's not just because I live here, it's also because the contract law in England and Wales is very beneficial because the judiciary cannot really interfere with it because of the way it's set up, which means contracts, it's very rare that a contract is overturned.
Okay. And that's important because once somebody signs on the dotted line, an agreement has been made.
Yeah, and it's interesting. A contract, whether it's verbal or written, both hold the same. Because you hear that, oh, it's a verbal contract, it doesn't count. For me, well, in fact, in law, they're just as strong as each other. The problem comes when it's a verbal contract. It's harder to discern what's being said because it's verbal, whereas when it's a written contract, you've got all the terms, the conditions, and the headings, so it's easier to understand.
Right, definitely. And so as you said, you have a few, so it's always good for our listeners too to have multiple streams of income. A big advocate for that as well. So how do you balance your time between all of them?
So for me, time is the most important commodity. I used to chase money, and it's not something I'm proud to say, but I don't know anyone who, when they're younger, don't. And then I realised that time was the most valuable commodity in the world. We don't have enough of it.
Right.
Though we all have the same. We all have the same 24 hours a day, and it's how we use it. For me, balancing between the different businesses is I plan what's happening in my day. So I know so today I've got some writing to do this morning. I've got a call with a client. I've got this podcast. This day has been set out to my coaching business. Tomorrow is to the photography business.
Okay.
And it's moving bits and pieces around. So for me, it's setting the time and having a plan. So I know that if I'm going to do something, it's planned out. And it's not you. I'm no good at multitasking. In fact, multitasking is not real. Though my wife does disagree with me there. She says she can. but we'll leave that on out. So we can try and do two things at once. But what we find is our mind is constantly going from one to one, though we don't realise. And it's been proven scientifically that if we try and do two things together, it takes up to 40% longer. So for me, it's about tackling one problem or one thing at a time in one business. So I do the same with my business. My business is, I will set one day or a section of a day for this business, a section of a day for this business. If a meeting comes in, say for the management consultancy, and I have to speak to a client on that, I know when it is, I will either pigeonhole the whole day to that company, or I will have a set number of hours that is to that company, nothing else. Because as I said, if you try starting to move things around, one, you get overwhelmed, things come crashing down, and panic sets in.
And that's what I've been trying to work on a little bit recently, because I have a few different businesses going, and And I find that that's kind of set it either by day or with one, like morning time I work on this, afternoon time I'm on this one, and to break it up and really to, even though I hate the word a list or a schedule, I don't know why I don't like those words, but they really are beneficial. I've hated them since I was little, for I don't even know why. There's some reason from when I was little, but I do realize that when I have things, then I don't think, be like, oh, okay, what am I going to work on today? What do I have to do for that? What do I have to, and then it's just a lot of time that's being basically wasted, where if I know this day is this, or this morning I work on this, and these are the things that I need to do, and just get done what I can in that time, it does make that time more efficient.
Very much so. And it's interesting because you said, oh, from when I was younger, I didn't like lists and check. Oh, limiting beliefs. We all have them. They're learned behaviors.
Mhm.
But if you think about it, and this is why for me, to-do lists, checklists are hugely important, and they go alongside planning perfectly. If you think about a pilot, and
Mhm.
he's flown that plane thousands and thousands of hours. Before he starts, they have a checklist to go through because it's safety.
Right.
And now he knows this off by heart, but him and the co-pilot, the first officer, will still literally go through and say, right, check our seatbelts are on. Check that the engines are ready to go, or everything.
Mhm.
Check your electronics are working. They go through it systematically. Now, I know also in surgery, it's the same sort of thing. They should have a culture where things are checked. First one, is this the right patient?
Right.
And it sounds really basic, but is this the right patient? Yes, check. Is everybody here who's supposed to be the anaesthetist? Check. Have you? And certainly around surgery, that people can actually, anyone in that team can actually call out and say, we think you've missed this, because they've all got the same checklist.
Right.
So even though it's going to, so for me, checklists are a huge thing, and they go hand in hand with planning perfectly, because you can say, right, I'm going to send, like you said, mornings, afternoons, split your days up.
Mhm.
My days split into slightly different or bigger.
Mhm.
I have before the day, so from 5 o'clock till 9 o'clock, 9 till 2, 2 till 5 or 6, and then 6 till 10.
Okay.
Now, I plan things, but when I plan things, I plan things with my wife, family time,
Mhm.
um, going for a walk. People go, why do you plan going for a walk? Says, because if I don't plan it, I don't
You
do
don't
it.
do it. Yeah, I know that too. I think I'm like, I'm just gonna do this first, or I'm just gonna, and then all of a sudden, oh, it's kind of late now. Tomorrow.
And I like the early one before other people start working,
Mhm.
because you can, one, you're fresh, you're just awake, and get so much more done. You feel it. So when you're talking to people, so for me, I'll say I'm speaking to a business owner, and he says, yeah, it's 10 o'clock and I've done an hour's this, and I'm thinking, I've finished most of my day's work by the time that you've even come on board. So planning and to do task lists, I find hugely beneficial to running the business, because also the task lists will be different.
Mhm.
The time module that you're using, say, like I say, as you said, mornings and afternoons, perfect to split down. And if something, the thing is, people say, oh, well, what happens if something comes up? That's simple. You get to a point where you stop. That's a good, convenient place to stop with what you're doing. Say photography.
Mhm.
I can finish the session. I don't download or do any of the post editing. I then stop. I then pick up, assess, do my checklist for the coaching, because I've had a client come in saying, oh, I've got a problem, I need this, something's happening in the business. I can help them then.
Right.
And then, so if that happens in an afternoon and I'm getting a call at 3, I can stop what I'm doing, reassess, checklist, make sure, put my coaching head in,
Mhm.
and then move on with that. Does that make sense?
That makes absolute sense, and it sounds great because yes, of course, things come up. That's life. We always have some unexpected things, but knowing that we can still work within our schedule with those things. And honestly, there's not a lot of things that are really, I need this right now or has to be today. Like most things, even though we feel like it's the worst and we have to deal with it right now. And there are really few things that, they could even wait one day and to deal with it. Although I know lots of people, if they're a client or something, they're not going to want to hear that. But that is reality. And I know even with me, my own stuff that I'm doing is super important. And if something goes wrong, oh my gosh, I need somebody to help me fix it right now. But the reality is it's not going to crash everything for, if I have to wait 24 hours to get it fixed and done.
No, I think the fact of that the culture we're living in now, with everything being instant,
Mm-hmm.
you can have instant coffee, you can have instant tea. Not very nice,
Oh.
but everything now we're expecting.
Yeah.
The fact that now Facebook Messenger used to be called Instant Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
Messenger. People expect a response. Oh, they message you and then they come back. Well, you've not responded. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing something. Unless it's the
Mm-hmm.
wife or the kids or something that's life-threatening.
Of course, but those, as I said, those are like those very small, rare things that truly happen.
And as I said, it's the fact that people expect instantaneous responses because we've got a phone, we've got our Facebook, we've got our WhatsApp, we've got our normal messages, we've got everything on there to communicate with.
Mm-hmm.
What I actually do, and I turn to people, is I say my phone and my computer is for my convenience.
That's exactly what I say.
Not yours. If I don't answer a call,
Mm-hmm.
I have a voicemail. It's an amazing thing. They can record their voice and tell me what they want. And if when I get to it, it's more. And if it is important, you normally find that they'll ring once, twice, 3 times. So you think, okay, there's something happening here.
Mm-hmm.
We need instant response to that. But as you said, most businesses, and even in business scenarios, what they perceive as a catastrophe, and I'll use the word catastrophe. Oh no, the machine's broken. Okay, that's fine. What am I going to do? Well, actually, you need to get it fixed. So go and find out how to get, and what's the quickest, how much are you going to lose with it being out of action? What plans do you have to get it fixed? Can you get a replacement? And it's expediting what. But as I said, so I've had clients phone up, oh no, the business is going to go down. I'm going to say, no, it's not. No. It's an inconvenience.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's really, but yeah, hopefully that's, like I said, it's funny how I'm not the only one who my phone and laptop is for me, and I'm not an instantaneous responder.
Me neither. And I one time I was at a seminar or something. It was a long time ago. It's just, sometimes you get those little nuggets that stick with you forever. And the one was, you have to train people how to interact with you, how to respond to you. And I say that lots of times too. It's like, if you leave me a message, I will get back to you. I'm not going to ignore you. I will get back. But if I'm busy writing something, or if I'm doing something, like my phone, the power is on, but every single notification is turned off because I'm concentrating. So this beep, buzz, ding, none of it. I literally have to go to my phone and it's first thing in the morning, I check it, kind of midday around noon, I'll check it, in the evening, I'll check it. So I will get back to somebody. But it's, as you said, it's for my convenience, not for everybody else to get a hold of me whenever it's convenient for them, or I would literally get nothing done.
And that's really interesting. As you said, it's about setting boundaries. So it's something that I know many coaches don't do, but many business owners don't. Funnily enough, at the weekend I was speaking to he's not a client, but he's someone I've known and I've sort of mentored.
Okay.
So, and he says, "Oh, I'm fed up with." So he does build. He's a builder. So I'm
Okay.
fed up with getting calls at 9, 10 o'clock at night asking me about this, that, and the other. And I'm saying, okay. Says, why don't you actually have two phones? Have a business phone and a personal phone, or you can set your phones up so that. So for me, I have a do not disturb on my phone from 10 o'clock through till 7.
Okay.
Unless it's someone who's in the list that can phone me. That means I get a good night's sleep, because before that things are ding up. But it's about setting the boundaries, and not only for your clients but for yourself as well. There are many different ways of doing it. Sometimes a conversation, but like I said, have two phones. If you're getting fed up, one that you can turn off, but friends and family can contact you on. And it's the little things like that. And as I said, so I know many coaches who don't set boundaries at first. They'll only do it with a few clients, because when you're getting phone calls at 10 o'clock at night saying, "Oh, I'm really struggling with this," or "Oh, there's a problem with the business," you do realise it's 10 o'clock at night and I need my beauty sleep.
And if I'm being up all night too from phone calls and people calling, how am I'm not going to be thoughtful and thinking, okay, let's go through this process. Let's see what needs to be done. It's more, oh, I'm tired. I didn't get any sleep. I've got this going on, that. And we can't be good for our clients or our customers or anybody else at the same time.
That's right. It affects our productivity. Because I speak to some people and they say, "Oh, I'm busy. Oh, I can't speak to you because I'm busy." That's fine. I can understand. I can't take the time to do this because I'm too busy. Well, fools are busy. What you need to do is productive. Be productive.
Just what I was going to say. There's a big difference between being busy and productive, because all of us can be busy. We can have a ton of things that we need to get done, or we're sort of working on, or we're kind of playing around with, but are we being productive? And that's when that 80-20 rule, or maybe it has changed by now, that 20% of what we do brings in 80% of our income, because that's productive. The 80% of what we do is lots of times not so productive. And I'm kind of guilty of it too. I have a little bit of shiny object syndrome, where I see something new or something that's going on. I'm like, oh, what's that? Let me check it out. Let me see. And sometimes it's good because we can incorporate some new things into our business, which is good. But I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of times where I'm checking out new stuff and I'm just like, oh, this is, I've wasted a few hours and it's just no good. And now I have to get back to really doing something that's productive.
But totally agree. Shiny object syndrome, people think it's a bad thing. It can be if you let it engulf you. But what you said, losing, say, a couple of hours, finding something and researching something that could possibly save you an hour a day is different to, and I'll say, watching YouTube videos for 3 hours. And I always say about, you need to be a creator, not a consumer.
Right.
We're in a consumer lifestyle, whether it's cars, clothes, entertainment. And again, the other words I'll say on that is something educational, or is it entertaining? There's videos out there that are very educational and entertaining, and then there's the cat videos which are just funny.
Right. And we should not be spending 3 hours on cat videos.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It depends what else you've got to do.
Oh, fair enough. But if you have a number of things to do, and not every day, maybe if it's a Saturday morning and it's a rainy day outside and you just want to watch some cat videos, go right ahead, right? I mean, but watching every single day, probably not the best, because it's not productivity for your business, unless you are into some cat business and you're in the pet industry, then perhaps then it is. So we have to consider those things.
And I think it's also it's our perception,
yeah,
we are about the different things, because you can quite easily lose a a couple of hours on social media.
Mhm.
But if that's part of your marketing strategy,
Then it's not really wasting time because it's part of what you need to do.
exactly.
So it's about that balance and knowing what are we doing that for ourselves and for our business is productive and what is wasting time. And sometimes wasting time is good. If we're stressed, we've got a lot going on, sometimes we have to not think about what we're working on to have that bit of creativity come back. And so sometimes we have to do that. So it really is finding that balance for ourselves personally and what works. Like you're up early in the morning. I have some friends that are more creative at nighttime. And so they want to be up at night when everybody's, not working, sleeping, and do some things then. And I say, well, that's great. I mean, if you're more of that nighttime worker and you do well and then you sleep a little bit more, that it's fine if that works for you. And because, there's no one size fits all. There's not one thing that works for everybody because everybody's different. I'm a
No,
morning person. I like to be up in the morning.
it's interesting because it's sometimes you struggle to get up, but you make yourself get up. Sometimes you end up doing a late night.
Mhm.
And there's no right or wrong. Last week I was working on something and I had 2 nights of going to bed at 2 o'clock. But again, it wasn't actually as planned as I'd hoped, but I was working on it and it was like, well, okay, just keep going. Get to that point. Oh, right, if I just do this little extra bit, it's going to save me a few hours tomorrow.
Mhm. Because you're in it. You're already in it
Yes,
and doing it
yes,
instead of
very
closing
much
everything
so.
down and then go back. Okay, where was I? What was I doing? Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and as you said, that you have people who are good in the morning, you have people who are good at night.
Mhm.
I can do morning or night. However, I can't do both. I can't burn the candle at both ends. I've done that, and I've hit the ground like a sack.
Mhm. We can only do it for so long, and
Yes.
then it's just going to come back to haunt us.
Yeah.
So it's not. I've done it before too. I've done it before, and as sometimes things come up, and we have things like you said, you're up till 2 a.m, and for phases or for short term and stuff like that, the body can handle it and do it, but it's just not something that we should think, oh, I'm going to sleep for 3 to 4 hours a day for the next 10 years because it's not going to work very well.
No, not even with shed loads of coffee.
No, yeah, it's not. And so for you, you've got a few different businesses in different areas. Do you have like where do you find are kind of your highest expenses for you?
Expense
Like
in financial
yeah,
or
like do you spend like the most like on marketing, retaining, getting customers, staff? Where do you think for yourself is where your kind of highest expense is with your businesses?
it's probably with marketing.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is when you're looking for new clients, you're spending. It's not just money; it's time,
Mhm.
finances, emotions. Whilst you're looking for new clients, keeping clients, it's always easier to retain clients. If you give them a
Mhm.
good service, they will come back.
Mhm.
Even if you've got new products, that they'll come back. And it depends on what business as well.
Of
So the
course.
management consulting, I've got a couple of staff there. However, they bring in more money than they cost,
Okay.
which is it's
Great.
basic
That's
business.
good.
The whole
That's
thing of
yeah.
it is having him. So I'm an advocate of helping people go from employee to entrepreneur or business owner. So that's
Mhm.
one of the things I coach, and I also do business growth. Now,
Mhm.
customer marketing or finding new customers is a lot more expensive, as
Mhm.
we said, than retaining existing customers. And if you do a good service, you'll keep customers, but you've also got to think about keeping your staff happy as well,
Right.
because if you've not got no staff, you've got no one to look after your customers, which means it's
Mhm.
down to me, and
Right.
sometimes I'm not available. Or the photography, equipment was and rent of the studio is the
Mm-hmm.
big cost there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the marketing, because you could all, I always say, is my first question when I'm speaking to someone in business, or how much do you want to make and how many people do you want to serve?
Good
Whether that's
question.
products or what, and they go, oh, I want to make this and I want to serve that. Okay, what capacity do you have? So if you want 100 people a week and each of those people take an hour of your time, what capacity can you actually hold?
Not a good one there. Because that's 100 hours. Because that's just with them. That's not even trying to get them and the everything else that needs to
No,
be done. So
no. So and as I said, it's not just about expense in finance.
mhm,
I talk about 3 tiers of time, money, and freedom. Now,
mhm,
time is the most valuable commodity we have.
absolutely.
I can't buy it back.
No.
Once it's spent, it's gone.
Mhm.
But when we don't relish it as much as we should do.
I agree.
Hence, I've got my own business because I'm in control of businesses, should I say? Because I'm in control. If I don't want to work, I don't have to work.
But you have people in place though, so you have to have those people so your clients don't miss out.
Yes, but the other thing is, and that's also the reason I'm an advocate of multiple forms of income. So
Mhm,
if
mhm,
one slows down, I also say that we have a choice. We can either cut our expenses or
mhm.
we can earn more money.
That's true.
And believe it or not, it's easier to earn more money than it is cut your expenses, because you're
Mhm,
downgrading your life. And
mhm,
then the other one I say, so I said about is having a passive income.
mhm.
And people say, oh, you can't have a passive income. Well, yeah, you can,
You can.
because it brings money in whilst you're not working in it. So the
Mhm,
consulting business is mainly a passive income. I go
mhm.
and do a couple of hours a week in it, just working with the staff that are there. They're happy, they get paid well, and they service the clients.
Right.
Now, the clients bring in more money, or the money to cover them, and a little bit for me, or a
Mhm,
little bit for the business. So all these things come about, whether it's property. So I've got a property company,
mhm.
or a property portfolio. I used to manage my own business properties. I've now got a management team or consultancy in to look after those properties,
Right.
so that I don't have to. So it's still bringing money in.
Mhm, mhm.
All these things, and when I talk about businesses, so my coaching business. Is when I talk to, it's about having a spaceless and timeless business.
Right.
Spaceless means you can do it anywhere.
Mhm.
Timeless means you don't have to be in the business. So the management consultancy, to a degree, is spaceless and timeless, because
Right.
I'm not actually working in it. I'm working on it.
Mhm,
I'm doing the strategies of looking at different clients or new clients, or where we can find them and where we can go on. But the coaching is, again, I can do that anywhere in the world. In fact, I'll go across to Spain, and I'll go across to France. I'll work from there. I go around the country. It
mhm.
doesn't matter where I am, as long as I've got my laptop and my brain. Sometimes the brain isn't always the best one, but it works.
But
So, and
laptop
that's
and internet for sure.
oh, and internet, yeah. So Friday,
Yeah.
I had bad internet. Everything was taking 3 times longer, so I ended up
Mhm.
writing a book instead of doing any online stuff.
And
But
and we have to be flexible with that sometimes, especially if we're
yes,
traveling.
yes,
Mhm.
I got to the point where I tried for about 3 or 4 hours trying to do stuff that I needed on connectivity, or it was that slow, and I was just like, I'll tell you what, I'm not getting anywhere. I've got another project I can pick in.
Mhm.
Let's write this. So yeah, it's been very interesting.
Excellent. Great. Well, so I guess it's always hard to pick one. So I always say, what's one or two tips or words of advice that you can give somebody who's maybe on the fence of starting their own company or becoming self-employed, or they're just kind of starting out and they're thinking like, I'm not sure if this is going to work for me. I'm not, it's because we don't know what we don't know until we do it.
Very much so. So that there's so many things. So I'll explain it this way.
Okay.
We are standing on a mountain of knowledge that we have learned over time through our own experiences and others. And we look out and we're standing on this mountain range and we see a beautiful, all these other mountains in front of us, and they look stunning. And you go, oh, those are beautiful. I wish I had a mountain like that. And then you've got another bloke on a mountain that you can see. You wave at him, hello. And he's standing there looking at your mountains going, that's a beautiful mountain. I wish I had a mountain like that.
Right.
We don't believe in ourselves. And it's really hard to believe in ourselves because we're taught at school that we have to do well at school and study hard to get a job that we can go and get, because if you don't do well, you'll end up with a menial, low-paid job.
Right.
You do well, you can go to university and you can get a high-paid job.
Maybe. You got a lot more debt though too.
Well, not only the debt, but it's a job.
It's a job.
I define job as work for somebody else.
Right.
As opposed to work for you. So you get a job working for somebody else, which is great. The education systems throughout the world, it was designed to create workers.
That's right.
Now, by creating workers, you have control over them. So, and here's one, the school bell. I never realised what was told to me was to condition children to be able to work in the fields and factories, the mills and factories, because they started on a bell, they stopped on the bell for lunch, break, conditioning. Now, also, when you're thinking about where you're going to have a business and you want a business, think about where you want to be. Just because I'm in UK doesn't mean that I have got businesses, doesn't mean I have to work here.
Right.
Like I said, I go to Spain, I go to France, I travel around. Next year, or I was going to say next year, it's this year. I'm looking at getting to America to do some talking engagements especially with clients I've got over in America. So it doesn't matter where you are to where your business is registered either.
Right.
Whether you decide to have a limited company in the UK, doesn't matter. Whether it's a limited company in America, in the US, doesn't matter. You can still own and be a director of that company if you're not a resident there. And people go, oh, you can't do that. That I think the words, that's illegal.
Yes, that's tax evasion. That's illegal. You can't do that. But that's not true. You can do it. And in some cases, in a lot of cases, depending upon where a person lives, there's a lot of tax advantages to having your corporation registered in another country.
Very much so. So tax evasion in the UK is illegal, and you will end up doing time at Her Majesty's expense.
Yeah.
Or His Majesty's expense now.
No. Yeah.
However, tax avoidance isn't, and that's what accountants are for. But that's one of the things. So the bigger corporations, they make deals with governments so they don't have to pay as much tax.
Right.
And when you look, and when I say about being employed, you don't control your taxes.
No.
You get a fixed set. You have to pay this because it's this much. Whereas when you've got your own business, you control your taxes.
That's right.
And you have an accountant. And as I said, I'm at the moment in discussions with someone in Dubai about starting a business there, because the tax laws are different.
Right.
Now, if you look at, here we go, IBM, big corporation, you can buy shares in it.
Yes.
But it doesn't matter where you are, a shareholder of a company is part owner. You own a minute. So your shares are ownership. So it doesn't matter
Mhm.
where in the world you are, you can own shares in that company.
That's right.
And it's the same. I'd always say check local law of whichever country you're starting your business in. But I know people that have started business in Spain, in Europe, in America, where they're not residents. Now, sometimes they have to have a resident there
Mhm.
to actually have an address or an accountant. A lot of limited companies have their accountant's address
Right.
as their service address.
Right. It's for them to send mail or a place of contact if the government
Yeah,
needs to get a hold of them, which generally they don't, but there has to be some type, or in some places too, where if you open up a corporation, you can get residency. You don't necessarily have to live there. You can have multiple residencies around the world and not technically live there. Some have different rules where you have to spend maybe a couple weeks a year, maybe 30 or 90 days a year. Every country is different.
yeah,
But for some, it's kind of an extra bonus that now I'm paying less taxes and I have residency somewhere else. So if I chose to, one year I just wanted to go live there for 6 months or whatever, you can go and do that.
yeah. And there are many countries where you can buy your residency by having a business.
Hmm.
I've got someone I'm working with, and she had a business in UK. They've
Hmm.
moved to Denmark, and she's just starting a business in Denmark now.
Hmm.
And she's closing off her company in the UK because her accountants advised her that's a good thing to do. It's not
Right.
active in the UK now. There's different ways around the whole thing. I'm
Of
not a
course.
tax expert.
Me
I have an
neither, but
I have an accountant who's very useful.
hmm.
And that's, I think, one of the things is it doesn't matter which country. And I know people who are in Indonesia, in Asia, in Bali, and places like that, where they've
Hmm.
got UK companies,
Hmm.
and they charge in pounds.
Right.
So from myself, my clients, I charge in GBP, Great
Hmm.
British pounds.
Right.
And then you're reliant on the exchange rate, whether it's in the US or in Europe or wherever.
And it can fluctuate sometimes in your benefit, sometimes not. So you've got to, be
Take
aware of that.
take the good with the bad.
That's right. That's right.
But then there's other things as you can start up. So you've got places like the Isle of Man
Hmm.
or the Channel Islands,
Hmm.
where tax is very low.
Right.
I know people that have started businesses there,
Hmm.
and they invoice internationally.
Hmm.
And the other thing is, as long as your company's set up and you're working within the laws of where your company is registered,
Right.
you're not acting illegally, or you
Right.
shouldn't be, or
Right.
because an accountant or someone will be telling you. But that's the important thing is, obviously
Hmm.
you don't want to act illegally because it gets you into a lot of hot water.
It gets you into some, and it's not worth it because everything can be done the legal way and a right way and save you so much. And I mean, there's people who open up corporations in Panama, the zero taxes there, British Virgin Islands, different places, different rates, and as long as you're following their laws and rules for that corporation, you are doing things right.
Yeah,
And so why I don't understand why people try to do things illegally, because I just think you're just causing yourself so much problem and looking over your shoulder, wondering, am I going to get caught or am I going to get in trouble for this? When you can do everything legally and not have to worry about it. Be like, oh, you want to check my books? Yeah, fine, here, go ahead. I don't care.
actually, what you've said, the whole thing of looking over your shoulder is not going to be good for you,
No.
physically, mentally, or emotionally. And as you
Hmm.
said, how much are you going to make if your business is set up correctly,
Hmm.
wherever it is, the amount you'll make by doing things illegally, okay, it might be lots, but is it worth a chance? But a lot of the time it's not in the scheme of things, unless you're a drugs cartel shipping billions and billions of dollars of product.
Yeah, and then you've got some other issues though too.
Well, yes, there is that as well. So,
but you're right though. But you're right, because it's just not worth it, because you can set everything up legally, do it right, save a lot of money in taxes, and not have to worry about it. Because how much freedom do you really have if, as we said, we're looking over our shoulder, we're worried, like, oh, what if I'm not allowed to write this off? What if I do this? What if they audit me? What if, and you just have that, and then it's not. I would rather, even pay a little more in taxes and not have to worry about that, knowing though that I can reduce my taxes substantially.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I say about having your own business, and whether it's because as an employee we've got a fixed set amount of tax. When I'm working with people to start their own business, I always do a side business salary replacement whilst working. And they go, oh, all the time. Well, you'll be amazed at how much time you can make when you want something. But I was speaking to someone who I'm working with, and they've got this idea. And I said, so how much do you need to leave your job? And he went, £110,000. I went, okay, that's your salary. Yeah, brilliant. I said, so how much do you need, or how much do you need to make to replace that salary? He went, £110,000. I went, okay. Let me explain it this way. So in the UK, your first 12,500 is free. You don't pay any tax on it. From 12,500 to 40 or 50,000 is at 22% roughly.
Okay.
And then from 50,000 up to 150 is at 40%.
Wow.
So I worked it out. And so and I'll explain that what I worked out in a minute. But when you're doing salary replacement, the targets I set are quarter, half, 3/4, and then full salary replacement.
Perfect.
It has to be small, so it's small, bite size, achievable goals that you can actually look at and go, I've achieved it. And when you've achieved something, what do you think? Whether it's writing a letter, whether it's recording, as soon as you achieve it, yes, I've got it.
Yes, I did it. Brilliant. And if I can do this, what's the next one?
Yeah.
It gives that motivation and that excitement.
And little tasks, and you tick box, tick that, John, I've done that. Oh look, I've got a line of ticks, a day of ticks. Brilliant. Now I say most people, when they start their own business, can actually leave their existing job at 3/4 or 75%. Because by that time they're earning more money than they are through the salary being taxed at whatever. So the cost of this person coming out of his £110,000, well, he needed to earn 64,000 a year.
Right, because that's basically what he's taking home after paying all of his expenses.
That was his net. Well, actually, that's just under half.
And so it's close to that.
28,000, 110,000. It's 18,000 difference. And you think, oh, so yeah, that for me, that's a huge thing. And seeing someone be able to do that is amazing.
Right.
But it's also that realization, because they think, now don't get me wrong, we need to pay taxes. I would never not pay taxes. I pay taxes on the profits and everything else. Taxes are a huge part of society.
And they are needed. We need schools and roads and highways and healthcare, and I mean, so they are needed.
But when you look at the likes of Amazon, who negotiated a 3% corporation tax in the UK and only paid on, it was a really small amount of stuff that wasn't even though it was in UK, it was sourced or something. So their huge bill was minuscule, whereas small, employees get, so they
probably, the employees probably paid more in tax in total than the business itself, and the business is making billions and the employees are not making much compared to it, and they pay more than the owner of the company. And that's great.
That's a
So
really
why
good
should we? So
analogy.
we need to find ways to work within the system.
Yeah.
That's what I always say. It's find ways to work within the system.
And I think, as I said about this mountain of knowledge we've got, we can stand on it. And it's about setting our dreams and goals. I always say, dream as big as you can. How much do you want to make? 100 million. Great. How do you get there? Let's break it down into small tasks that you can actually do and complete with that big dream. And once your dream's down, but that's just the financial. Right. I want to be able to work 1 day a week. Tim Ferriss in his book, A 4-Day Work Week.
The 4-hour work week.
4-hour work week. Yeah. Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. 4 hours. And how he did it. And it's, I talk to people and say, learn it, perfect it, automate it, and delegate it.
Right.
And delegate it by delegation, not abdication.
But
yeah, so you've got this big mountain of knowledge that we stand on. We are the experts in us, and we have qualities and a skill set that is specialized and unique to us. And that for me is when you said starting a business, you believe in yourself, you've got a lot of knowledge that you can use, whether it's baking, whether it's vehicle mechanics, whether it's coaching, whether it's producing artwork. We've all got a skill that somebody else haven't.
Right.
And they will be willing to pay for that skill.
And I think one of the blocks too is a lot of people might be even listening now thinking, yeah, but there's so many people that know so much more than me, or they already have so many more followers, or they already have, and they kind of start that negative. But I know somebody that's does something very similar to me in consulting. And I've talked to people that said, oh, I've talked to that person and I would never give that person a dime. I don't like that person. And I was like, oh. And so sometimes it's like that. It's true, because if you're talking, and it could be coaching, could be consulting, it could be you saw an interview and they had this book that you were interested in, and then you saw the interview and they just kind of rubbed you the wrong way. They said something, whatever it may have been. And then all of a sudden, and we see it even with movie stars and things like that. They'll make a comment or they'll do something, and all of a sudden now they're blacklisted by so many people and they should be canceled. And I mean, so sometimes, yes, there are people that are going to know more than us, or who have been in the industry that we're in longer, but that doesn't mean that other people are going to like them. And we generally want to hang out with and follow and listen to people who we get to know, like, and trust. And so, we have to do that, because there's probably people that don't like me. I don't know why, but but I'm sure, they, for whatever the reason, they don't. There's always going to be people that know more, that have been around longer, and that people don't like.
So it's funny, because I've actually got a video saying, I'm not the coach for you.
Oh,
and
okay.
People look at me and go, what? So I'm not the coach for everybody.
No.
I do life coaching, so I'm a certified life NLP, CBT practitioner and hypnotherapist. That's how I started coaching. I then went into business coaching, because I've spent many years working in corporates and that sort of stuff. And it was interesting, because the things that stop us are things like imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Do I suffer from imposter syndrome? Yes, I do.
I'm learning, actually, everybody does, even people who we think never would, that are like the top of their kind of craft, that even sometimes they still have imposter syndrome.
There's someone I know, Tara Halliday. She did a doctorate on imposter syndrome. She wrote a book on unmasking imposter syndrome. And she says 75% of high achievers, we're talking CEOs of big companies, film stars, suffer from imposter syndrome. Like I said, I do. Every so often you have a wobble, and then it's like, right. But you're right. There will be people that know more than you. However, how they get that knowledge across is a personal thing. As you said, you mentioned know, like, and trust. It's true. I know people listen to me and take the mick, and they're friends, and they are. However, I also know other people that says, Lee, I listened to your stuff, I read your stuff, and it's changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
I say I'm not the right coach for everyone, because I'm not. I have humour. I push things. I'll expect if some. I always talk about accountability.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to we lie to ourselves. Why?
Oh yes, all the time. Everybody does. And if you're saying right now that you're not, you're lying to yourself right now.
Exactly. But the interesting one is it's harder to tell somebody that you've said, I'm going to do this, and then you have to go back to them a day or two later and say, well, they go, oh, how did it go? I went, well, I've not actually done it. Why? Well, I got a bit worried and scared, and imposter syndrome, chimp brain, naturally in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're going, why? Why do you not? Now, for me, I hold my clients accountable.
Mm-hmm.
So you said that's great, but so why haven't you done it? And you can see and hear the tumbleweed going across.
Right.
But as I said, now there's some coaches that don't hold their clients accountable at all. That'll be great for some people. For me, I get paid for results.
Right. And my job is to make you get your result.
I can't make anybody do anything that they're not willing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But when they come in, they know that you'll be. I'll hold you accountable. I'll expect you to do things. Don't have to.
Right.
But how are you going to feel when you said you're going to do it? And the whole thing, we look into limiting beliefs, all the bits and pieces around it.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one I get is I'm friends with people in coaches, business coaches, life coaches, and people go, why are they your competition? My take on no, they're potential collaborators.
Exactly.
That could be someone, because I've had people come to me and I've been talking to them, and I say, look, I could really help you. However, you and me haven't got synergy. I can put you in touch with 3 coaches who go and speak to them. We have different styles. We have different ways we work. And people go, what, you turn people down? They went, yeah. If I don't believe that I can help that person, I'm not going to take money off them.
Right.
The other one is, I'm not going to cause or create a codependency where they become dependent on me. I'm in there for a short term in their life. A year, 6 months, 12 weeks, enough that they can get the knowledge they need and the confidence. Right. Now, I always say we've all got the ability to do whatever we want. And I've put that on a post, and someone's come back and says, I want to fly to Mars, but I can't do that. However,
maybe not yet. You can't, but people are working on it. So maybe
we've got something that's landing on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, but it's too expensive. So start saving.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, but it'll take me years to get there. Well, make sure you save and have got enough left in your life that you can go and do it.
Right.
We can always find an excuse not to do something.
Yeah, absolutely.
With business, I'd started my first business at 26 after coming out of the British Army, not because I wanted to be truthful. I'd come out to a job that then fell through. I talk about living a life of abundance. I've lived a life in scarcity where I was running 4 jobs just to put food on the table. And someone turned around to me and says, Lee, you know a bit about computers. And I was talking 96, computers were still relatively big. You know, have you thought about starting your business, building computers and that? And I went, no, I'm not clever enough. 96, that business is still going as a management consultancy.
Wow, that's great.
So 96 in fact, it rebranded in 2001.
Okay.
To data network computing, so I've got internet hosting and management consultancy, architecture, that sort of stuff. So as I said, I've got people who work in that business to do the stuff that I don't want to do. But it's that limited belief. Oh, I'm not clever. I wasn't clever enough. I have as I don't know. I went off and did a master's of law at 47, having done a law degree at 40, starting a law degree at 42, and went through burnout. So all these things come together. You learn from the experiences, and you learn from other people's experiences. The problem is, a lot of people have never experienced it, but they're happy to tell you not to do something.
Yes, I always say to people, never take advice from somebody who isn't living the life you want. Because I'm sorry, if you're even if you're my friend, and I have like some of a lot of my good friends are employees, and they're great employees, and they say to me, like, sometimes I'll talk about business and I kind of see their eyes glaze over a little bit, or they just say, like, I don't understand how you do what you do. Like, and that's fine. So I know, like, I can't ask them advice because they don't know. I can, bounce ideas off of them and stuff, but it's never an advice, because in one, they just don't understand. And if I'm trying to reach a certain point, whether it's more employees, more clients, more cash, whatever it may be, they're not going to give me the right advice. And it's only because they just don't know. And so we really need to think about the questions that we're asking. First of all, is, making sure it's a good question, but then also that we're asking the right person.
Totally agree. I'm a coach, and I have coaches. People go, "What do you mean you have coaches? Are you not good enough yourself?" No, you're always learning something. Whether it's, I've got a photography coach who's really good, teaches photography. I've been with him for years. I've got a marketing coach. I've got a sales coach, and people go, "Why? You're spending money on coaches. Do you not know yourself?" Yes, I do. I can teach you how to marketing, getting your product in front of somebody else who's a potential client. That's it. Basics. Selling, creating a relationship. What I was going to say was, though, the fact that you say, find someone who's doing what you want to do and work with them. Work with people who've been through a journey that you want to travel. But the advice you get off some people is the advice that you're actually not even asking for. I've got one client, and so he's ex-military, he's ex-army, and during a discussion we were having, and I know he's okay with this, but he was saying, yeah, his mum had expected him to go into the job that his grandfather had done. So now they'd been the female side of the it was all cleaners. They'd done cleaning. The fathers all the male side had always worked in manufacturing.
Okay.
In a factory. So all of a sudden he's gone, I'm going to join the army. Well, that's not what we expected. Oh, it's dangerous joining the army. It can be. Then again, so it can work in the factory.
That's right. It's true.
There's different risks.
That's right.
However, he went through and he started his own business. And he started his business, a side business. He didn't tell his mom.
Okay.
Because when he had said something about it, oh no, you don't want to be doing your own business. You want to be getting a job.
It's interesting that there's such a false sense of security with a job. Like, and that's what I see a job is. It's such a false sense of security, because you don't know one day if that job's going to be there tomorrow or next week. If they go, and not only like, if not just maybe you get fired, you did something wrong, or the company went bankrupt, no fault of your own, or restructuring. I mean, there's all kinds of things. So there's no, and then you're stuck. Like, you can't just, oh shoot, I need some more money this month because I have an expense coming up. Sorry, you're getting paid your wage. So for me, a job stands for false sense of security.
Very much so. I'm on record somewhere saying you're just a number. And actually, when you're not financially part of, the business, you just kicked out.
Mhm.
And I've seen it so many times where, and it's not even they've done anything wrong.
Mhm.
The business, as you said, doing a restructure. Oh yeah, well we'll get rid of him,
Yeah. Restructuring.
and there's no, I've not many companies now have loyalty.
No,
So
I
I
don't
was speaking to
think
someone,
either.
and they'd worked for a company for 25 years. He got a redundancy, which is okay, but
But it,
it's
yeah.
not going to, a redundancy doesn't last you for the rest of your
Mm-mm.
life.
No.
And he struggled. So all these things and as you said, when you're talking to people, you say, I've got my own business, they oh god, that's really risky.
So is having a job.
I've had my own business or businesses now since 96.
Mhm.
I've had a good life so far, and I intend it to still keep going. Would have had this, been able to have the same life as an employed person? I'd have been having to find a salaried role
Mhm.
through tax and everything for the lifestyle that I live now, or coming through this, for
Mhm.
about 180,000 ish, possibly more.
Mhm.
Now people go, oh, that's disgusting. That's obscene amount of money. I became so.
But compared to what? I mean, everything to me, everything is perspective. Jeff Bezos would be like, "That's it. That's nothing. How could you live off of that?" And other people would do anything to have that kind of money. So it's.
I know people who see 28,000 as an amazing wage,
Mhm.
and it is, because it's a. So one of the things I always say is I've found financial independence
Mhm.
through properties. I've got a property portfolio, so it's having money in, saving, investing it,
Mhm.
but I use money. I have debt that I use like a mortgage
Mhm.
to create money,
Right.
and that is a huge thing. And that's what you're doing, using your money and your time to create money by having your own business.
Right.
And that for me is there's such a, what's the word? There used to be such a stigma
Mm.
to small business owners.
Mhm.
Now I believe we're in the best time to have our own business. We've got the likes of social media marketing.
Mhm.
Marketing was always hard. When I started, it was a newspaper, an advert in the newspaper. It was leaflet drops. It was having a card up in the newspaper window that cost me what was it, £1 a week. To get clients,
Mhm.
you'd have to go out and go networking and all this. There's businesses you can actually do from the owner where you don't even have to do a lot. Social
Right.
media, Facebook. I was speaking to someone, it was last year sometime, and they were saying, yeah, but Facebook's for my friends. I only do that. I said, yeah, it's great. However, it's changed.
Mhm.
It's now the biggest marketing tool in the world. And people go,
Mhm.
oh, what do you mean? So, and we did the test.
Mhm.
Went on his feed, and it was friend, 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 sponsored. Okay, friend, 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 sponsored. Okay, friend, sponsored, friend, sponsored. When you
Yeah.
look at your feeds, people are doing it. It's the only way the algorithms work is if you're paying for them.
Right.
And now even in Facebook, your profile, you can have it as a personal profile, and you can boost and ways to get money. It's a marketing tool. It still
Mhm.
has its place,
Mhm.
but the thing is, social media is marketing. And as I said, for me, social media or marketing is getting your product out in front of someone,
Right.
your potential client.
Mhm.
I think about the billboard that used to drive past, and you drive past it 20, 30 times. Then one day you drive past it and go,
Yeah.
I didn't know they do that. Oh, they do pizzas at this place. Oh, I fancy a pizza.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things with social media and social media marketing. You get many people, they come in, they say, oh, we can teach you how to get all these leads and everything, which is great. But that's one small section of the
Right.
whole thing. So you've got your social media marketing, sales. So marketing is getting your product in front of someone.
Mhm.
Sales, that's a relationship.
Mhm.
As you said, like, know, and trust. You need
Yeah.
those 3 bits in place, or know, like, and trust. I always get that. Need those 3 things in place to actually be able to make a sale. And then people say, oh, but it's not just internet. These are bricks and mortar
Mhm.
businesses as well. If you're do motorcycle repairs, people need to know about your business.
That's right.
They need to like who you are, and they need to trust that you can do the job. So you're not
Mhm.
going to have a brake failure as you're riding away. But then also the marketing is saying, look, I've got this. The sales is, oh yeah, I can do this. Oh, well, I'll tell you what, how about we do it for this? I'm showing you, if you do this, this, and this. Oh, I'll tell you what, instead of me doing it, if you take the fairing off, that'll save you an hour's worth of work, labor that I have to do.
And then they're
People
like,
then
oh,
say,
wait, that guy's saving me some money if I do a little bit. Oh, I like him or her.
exactly, yeah, her, or yeah, and all these things come into play. So sales is about a relationship. I
Mm.
believe the more you give, the more you get. You,
Yes.
it's about giving value, allowing people to shine. So and this is for me why having your own business is so important. It allows you to shine out doing what you enjoy doing. I always having a passion-based business,
Mhm.
find what aligns with your passions, values, and purpose. Go through a values and purpose module, or whatever you want to call it, where you're looking internally into what you like, what you've learned. And this starts from when you're young.
Mhm.
You
Sometimes
can't
we
plan.
forget the things that we used to like and do and haven't done them for a long time. So there's sometimes for some, you got to go back and do a little soul searching to find those things that you used to enjoy doing, and you might really enjoy them again.
And also it identifies limiting beliefs. I can't start a business. Why? Well, my teacher said,
Oh, yes.
and here's a
Mhm.
statistic that, and I'll come into something else. My business studies teacher said 60% of businesses that start fail in the first year, and 75% after that fail in the next 3 years. Okay. My question is, has your business studies teacher ever had a business?
No, they're a teacher. They're an employee getting paid by the bell.
And you're right, a lot of businesses do fail in the
Mhm.
first year when they're young. But one of the reasons they fail is people start a business because they're good at something or they enjoy doing something.
Mhm.
They start it as a doer. They don't know about marketing. They don't know. So they get, oh, it's great working. They don't know about marketing. They don't know about sales. They don't know about processes. They don't know about staff. All the little bits and pieces that make a business. So they
Mhm.
spend so much time focused on building the widget.
Right.
They don't know how to market the widget.
Mhm.
They don't know how to sell the widget. Because they're so busy making the widget, they don't put the process in place so that they can show someone else how to make the widget.
Mhm.
So what they do is, oh, we need more widgets, so I'll get someone else who can make the widget, who comes in, costs a lot more money, and hasn't got the right attitude and aptitude, but he can do the job.
Mhm.
But he does the job how he wants it done, not how you do it. So after a couple of months, you're getting people who are coming back saying, this widget isn't the same as this widget.
Mhm.
Oh, what? Well, and you speak to him and says, well, you made both of them. Oh, yeah, well, I just did this quickly because I can save 10 minutes here. I can save half hour here. Have the processes in place so that you can actually recruit people with the right attitude and aptitude. All
Right.
these things come, but it's a whole holistic thing. So people start as a doer and get stuck as a doer working in a business. And then what does that do? They replace their job with a business where they're working 4 times harder, 4 times longer.
Mm-hmm.
And then they moan, oh yeah, well, it's so much hard work. And there's the answer.
Right. And then they
Hopefully
just
that
give up.
makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, we have to think though too, from from people who haven't had any type of business background, there's learning. You have to learn, but there's so much, even just free stuff online to just get you started, get you going. And then as you're starting to make a little bit of money, just don't go spend it and buy a new dress or a new watch or a new something. You use that money, reinvest, or hire a coach or your first employee or a virtual assistant or somebody to help start doing some things that you don't have to do. And then you step by step and build up from there. As they say, Rome wasn't built in a day, nor was Google or Tesla or any other major company was not. It took them quite a while, and then it got to a point where then there was a big jump, then pretty steady for a while, then another big jump, and that's business.
And also there's a lot of failures along the way.
Of course. I like to call them learning experiences.
So again, they are learning experiences. And people say, so for me, someone who's never failed hasn't tried hard enough.
Mm-hmm.
And having that whole thing now, one of the things you said does resonate with me. We can look in this day and age with the internet and the knowledge that's out there, we can learn anything, whether
Yes.
it's how to build a plane, how to ride a motorbike, how to ice a cake, how to cook spaghetti bolognese. Doesn't matter. You can go and find it for free. There will be someone who's done a YouTube video on it, and that's fine. For me, why I have coaches is they get me there quicker. Because as a coach, without a coach, I can do it. I don't hold myself up. I've got no accountability. I've got no knowledge. I've got knowledge. I can learn knowledge. And then you think about athletes, top athletes.
Oh, they've got lots of coaches.
They've got a nutritional coach. They've got a running coach. They've got weights, but they have coaches because they're good. They want to get to the next level, and that for me is what coaches do. I've had coaches where I've got to a certain point, and then I've moved on to another coach who's taken me that step higher, and for me that's a huge thing. As I say, you don't need a coach. Nobody needs a coach.
No, but it's true though. Like, especially I was more thinking for people who are just starting out, if you need to learn some stuff, you can go online to start learning some stuff, start making some money, and then really invest that, because you're right. You can learn online, but it's going to take you longer because the coach knows the shortcuts, the things that they've done, the trial and error, the accountability, the making sure, and it does catapult you faster and further. But if you're just starting, there is information available. You can take some basic business marketing 101 to get going and get some income in, and then use it wisely.
So I mentor for a government initiative on people starting a business. I also do one called for ex-forces in the UK. I do pro bono work. In fact, just going to turn the light on because it's starting to get dark here in the UK.
Dark.
So yes, all of a sudden it's that there are mentorships out there that you can get for free, pro bono, where coaches like myself will actually give you time, say 10, 12, 20 hours, whatever their agreement is with the organization, to help you start your business.
And that's great. And I think that is kind of the perfect way to perhaps end things and wrap it up, is that there are coaches out there. There are people to help. There's free information if you're just getting started, but yes, to get somewhere faster, definitely coaching would help. So if any of our listeners wanted to get a hold of you and get in touch with you, where is the best place for them to do that?
So I have a website, leebroders.com. I'm also on, I would say, all major social media. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. I also have a YouTube channel. And it's looking for, so it's Lee Broders, my name's there, but remember, there's a lot of free content. As Sally said, there's a lot of free content out there. I put out free content because it's important that people are able to find that information so that they can make that leap of faith, and the faith is having trust in themselves.
Right. And we will put links in the show notes to make it easy for everybody, that so if they're just listening now, they can always come back again and click on those links to make it, again, easier to get that help. Well, thank you very much, Lee, for your time. Really appreciate it. And I know my listeners got a lot of great value from you.
Sally, thank you so much for your time. Like I said, it's been a pleasure and an honor to be here today with you.